Hey everybody, Hostron here with another first edition Friday video for you. First off, I just want to let everybody know that I will not have a video out next weekend, next Friday. It's even this week's video is a little bit difficult for me to get out right now. Last week was Easter. I also had a semi-professional bowling tournament that took up quite a bit of my time, and I also had a death in my family last week. Not immediate family, but he was someone that was close to me in my family. He was a great uncle. He he put me through law school basically. Law school is not a cheap endeavor, and even though I had been accepted into multiple law schools way back when, I ended up at the time not really sure if I was going to actually pursue it. And then he kind of swooped in and said that he was going to kind of cover like the bulk of the cost over time. And this great uncle, he was really close with my mom, and I lost my mom 18 years ago, and so this one's hitting me a little bit harder than what you would expect. But I just kind of wanted to let you all know the context of why today's video is going to be just a little bit more stream of consciousness. I haven't really had the time to do the prep work for this video like I normally do. I don't really have the heart to try to come up with something like new and innovative for you all to see. And so we're going to do a sort of like sports talk show kind of a thing. We're going to a little pardon the interruption style of a show here. I'm going to just pull up some stuff that's happened recently in the community, things that have come out with errata since today's actually the day that they dropped the April game changes and stuff like that. So, because I'm recording this here on April 2nd, you're going to view it this Friday as usual. And so, I just wanted you all to understand the context of why this video is going to be a little bit more stripped down and stream of consciousness than a lot of my videos. And then, as I said, I'm not going to be able to put out a video the following week. So this coming Friday and weekend, I usually do my videos 1 week in advance. This coming weekend, I simply will not have the time, and I certainly won't have the desire to try to put anything out. So I will apologize in advance to all my loyal viewers that I'm not going to have anything for you in the following week, barring if I somehow find time like during the week or something like that, like I am now. And even then, we might just do another stream of consciousness video, or maybe we'll switch gears and we'll do something else. I don't know. But so yeah, we'll just kind of go into it here. I'm going to keep this video somewhat short, maybe shorter than my typical average, because we're going to do some topics here just kind of as we go along. So we did get a rules update. James and the rules committee clarified some things. They clarified that you do download from the face up cards of the side decks where cards go back face up. Kira of the O'Brien and Kira has been clarified to what it was that, I think was obvious to everybody what they were trying to do, but maybe didn't quite do it exactly right. So they've clarified that. They've clarified leaving play. They clarified that Transwarp Hub is playable at Intelligence Operation because its specific text being able to play at any nebula is enough to override, to provide enough specificity as an exception that it overrides that you can't play outposts at homeworlds. So I think that's the right way to go with it. So they clarified a romantic partner, and in coordination with errata, Starfleet on Federation cards has been clarified. So we'll get to that here in just a moment. So yeah, a lot of stuff that Rules put out this month. As far as the actual changes are concerned, here's the list of quote-unquote Starfleet cards that are now clarified as Starfleet affiliation. Make a Difference, again, has come back out from being on the ban list for a short period of time. It has lost the download of Workhorses of the Fleet. So if you want Workhorses of the Fleet, that's another seed card now. Looks like it's keeping the card draw and keeping the free play. And so it's just losing the download of Workhorses of the Fleet. So if you want a free ship, that's a whole separate seed slot now. So I know there is definitely still some debate. I've talked to a couple of different people, and I think opinions kind of split as to whether or not this is enough, or it is enough or is not enough of a change to kind of make a difference again in line for what you're getting for a single seed slot, because before you were only spending one seed slot to get this, and then it would get Workhorses, and I guess you a free ship and things like that. So we'll see what happens. I suspect that it's not enough, but time will tell. Wrong Door got a slight change to it in order to make it work with this new icon. I am disappointed in this change to Arendis. Yes, I know that they're saying it was what they wanted to do all along, that they meant to do it when Horgon was re-released from the banned list. But to be perfectly honest, this was one of those things where not doing it and kind of leaving it out the way it had been was perfectly fine. I mean, no one was really abusing it. I showcased some decks where you could try to utilize it, and none of those decks were broken in any way. This is one of those things where maybe not doing anything may have been better, but they made their decision. I think it's disappointing. I think it's just another thing where fun is being taken away, and it kind of leads to a pardon the interruption style sports talk show hot take time, where I'm getting rather annoyed and frustrated that priority is being given to stuff like this. I mean, this is not critical. This is not a big deal. This is not the thing that should be getting a priority from balance and from rules and whoever else is in charge of all these different departments. This is not a priority. This should not be a priority. Okay? You missed it the first time. It wasn't broken. Leave it alone. Put your focus on other things that should be happening. There's all kinds of discussion about the game is going too fast and bonus points are too proliferative and all this other stuff, and yet we're carving out time to get Arandis fixed, and we're carving out time to get Wrong Door fixed, and we're carving out time to get all of this stupid Starfleet stuff handled, but we're not actually changing any of the things that are an actual problem right now. There are a half a dozen cards that are currently on the banned list that with some minor tweaks would have much more impact on the game in a positive way than putting our time into getting Arandis clarified. Of course, then we get the watch list information here about these different bonus point cards that are now being watched, and of course Distant Control being watched. Again, I mean, yes, they probably should be on the watch list, including Distant Control. Like, all these cards are very reasonably on the watch list, but more and more time is being lost here worrying about what to do with bonus points when this isn't maybe necessarily something that errata should be handling. There are plenty of ways that bonus points can be handled that don't involve changing a bunch of cards again. So, I mean, I have said in the past that I am in favor of a ban list, I am in favor of errata, so that people get to continue playing with cards, but there are not, but the use of those tools is not always the best option. And that the proliferation of bonus points is best handled through errataing and bringing back cards off of the ban list and designing cards to help deal with the problem. That's what should be done with bonus points, not hammering with errata all of these cards again. Alright, soapbox over on that one. So we go through here, all these changes and stuff. Yesterday was, of course, April Fool's. We got our little April Fool's nonsense. We were informed that Tribbles, the new Tribbles expansion, has been delayed by a couple of weeks. Appears they discovered a mistake very late in production process. I mean, I don't know anything about any of that, so I just assume that it's, you know, something that's important enough that they needed to take those 2 weeks so that it's good. Fine with that. You know, we're still probably going to get these new Tribbles out before, you know, any of like the, you know, before the bulk of regional season. So I am looking forward to some new Tribbles. I know my local players are definitely looking forward to new Tribbles. And back on the soapbox, we should get more new Tribbles more often. Tribbles is the game that seems to unite the player base. Seemingly everybody who plays 1E and who plays 2E plays Tribbles. It's the game that brings like the entire community together, and I guess my hottest take for today, is that Tribbles should almost be a much bigger priority than it should be, right? Instead of thematic set with universal background character number 64, making, you know, being such a big deal for design to get out, maybe more time needs to be spent on new Tribbles instead. Couple of there was at least one regional that took place. It looks like Ferenginar had a regional. They had 5 people. Here's the results. Looks like two of the decks haven't been posted, but there's enough information here on this one to know what was going on with it. Looks like Ken played a straightforward battle stations deck. I don't know if it was for, you know, if he wanted to do it for achievements, if he wanted to do it because he just wanted to have fun with it. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting interrupt choices in this deck, so, you know. And sometimes a person that wants to do something just because they want to do something. I mean, maybe he finds the battle station stuff interesting. So, took second place with it. That's not nothing. What's really interesting out of this event is Michael's deck. So, it looks like he took the protection racket trick that I had featured in a previous video from some months ago, where you use protection racket to essentially force a hero of the Empire trigger, thus making all your Alpha Quadrant Klingon missions worth more, and thus making it easier to 2-mission win, or to still 3-mission win but absorb bonus points easier, but also more importantly hurt your Alpha Quadrant opponent. This is a pretty interesting and clever way to do that. Sticking it into a Romulan drone deck. I mean, these 6 missions are very interesting. They all follow, they all have, you know, the Klingon icon, and so therefore they all get that +10 boost when solved by non-Federation. And of course he's Romulan, so he's non-Federation. Looks like he played with new civilizations in order to get the New Civilizations achievement. At least that's the only reason I can believe this card is in here, because this deck is able to do like all these missions for 50 points each, and so solving 3 space for 150 seems a lot more reasonable than doing New Civilizations. So if anyone at home wants to play Michael's deck, these New Civilizations seems to be pretty superfluous here, and you can change it out. The obvious change would be to simply put in Know Your Enemy, because again, all of these missions would qualify for Know Your Enemy. They are all less than 35 points, they are all sharing an icon, and you are not playing that affiliation in any way. There are some subtle good things in this deck I noticed. The use of this particular Captain Kirk and its special download any captain's card, which means that he can get lower decks. Lower decks is obviously a lot more useful for all of these universal personnel, so that's a pretty clever thing that Michael has in the deck. And it looks like he has eschewed doing any of the temporal benefactor stuff, temporal agent stuff. He's not relying on that. So that becomes even more reason to probably just go with Know Your Enemy in this deck instead of New Civilizations. So I suppose that's like just like the one change that I would maybe suggest if a person in the future wants to play this deck. So it's a very clever deck. Of course, I'm going to think that because basically, Michael's using my protection racket trick to make the drone deck to juice it up. So good on Michael for the win. Cleverness should always be rewarded in this kind of way, so good for him. Alright, so that's the result from that regional. Looks like there was also another regional overseas. Where was it here? Saw it here somewhere. Why am I just not seeing it? Oh, here we go. Here we go. So, at Beckles Regional on Good Friday, Patty took it down with a non-aligned and Ferengi deck using Obsession. I have been informed that he realized that his deck was illegal in some way. I looked this over and I don't see it right away. It's possible that it wasn't so much that the deck was illegal and more just the fact that there's one thing in the deck that doesn't necessarily maybe work the way that he thought. The only thing that jumped out at me was the 2 different copies of Sleeper Ship. If that's what it was, yeah. Basically, like, Sleeper Ships don't stack, okay? Like, they're not cumulative, and they both have the same trigger and are affecting the same thing, which is you, the player. And so you can't have, like, 2 Sleeper Ships in play and get both Sleeper Ships to trigger off of a single battle. So I'm wondering if that's what happened in this tournament. If it is, that's unfortunate. But I would think, though, that this deck is still probably pretty decent even as it is. Even without the second Sleeper Ship, it's still pretty good. Because keep in mind, one Sleeper Ship will still trigger multiple times in a single turn if you have different battles with a matching commander board. So, yeah. So if you can get multiple matching commanders on board, you can still do it. So I'm not quite sure, just by looking at the deck, how it would get like two ships with 2 matching commanders into play quickly, but it is possible here. I mean, with, looks like there's some possible different ways of that happening here. So still, though, I mean, I'm going to give props to a deck that's trying to do something different and interesting. It's playing with a lot of non-aligned personnel, playing with a lot of universal personnel. So it's getting a new arrivals free play, and then keeping the new arrivals in play by using the sleeper ship to get essentially a free play as well. So yeah, but of course, the trick would be the thing that would be better is if you can do new arrivals and this trick with a single sleeper ship by having multiple ships with matching commanders aboard. So that's the way that you can still kind of do this, I think. Glenn's deck is rather interesting. When I first pulled it up, my eyes immediately went to the two-seated Horgons in a staging ground deck, and I went like, "Oh, Glenn's doing the Arandis trick one last time before it possibly gets changed here at some point." And then was disappointed not to see Arandis, and then realized what he was really doing with it. And I once again want to point out that I applaud the cleverness of this, and am planning on testing it out now myself. And basically what he's doing is he is self-seeding Horgons at his planet, and I would think specifically he's seeding it at Seek Illicit Relic, so that Dead End doesn't stop him from being able to acquire the artifact at the first mission that he attempts. And thus, Horgon, he chooses when it's, more advantageous to take the extra draw, he takes the extra draw, but probably on a lot of turns, he's taking the additional normal card play. And the wording on Staging Ground is in place of your normal card play, you can do the Staging Ground drop. So what he's doing is he's actually getting, once he has the Horgon, he snowballs hard, and he puts 2 ships with a total of up to 6 people into play on a single turn. That's pretty clever. I like that. That's a very clever thing, Glenn. So my hat to you, my tip of the hat to you, Glenn, on that. That's pretty cool. Staging ground decks tend to draw a ton of cards. Every time I've ever play tested one, there are definitely situations where being able to do that twice is pretty good. Now, when I was doing the Arandis trick and you're doing double turns, it's kind of essentially the same thing. You just don't get like the 2 turns worth of draws necessarily. So, on the one hand, I do applaud the cleverness of it. On the other hand, I question if he was drawing enough cards to actually fully utilize it. But again, you don't have to utilize the double drop every single turn. You can just take the additional card draw in order to help speed you up. So, it's not like it's, good some turns and terrible other turns. It's always good. It's just, the full abuse maybe isn't happening necessarily as much. The other part of the problem is the fact that the game is, the modern game is being over in 6 turns now on average, 5-6 turns, and so, you have to kind of get that Horgon really quick, and then you only have, a couple of turns to really abuse it. And of course there's the real problem, and that is that, if you do have to solve Seek Illicit Relic in order to get it going, well, that's only a 20-point mission, so you kind of have to have another big mission solved in order to, make up ground. So, though I would think that one goes under the Seek Illicit Relic, and then he has a choice of 2 other planet missions here to stick the other copy under. And he does one of those, he does that one first, and sees if he bounces off a dead end or not. And if he doesn't bounce off a dead end, then it doesn't matter. You're solving one of them for 35 points, and then that kind of puts you on your way. So, again, I definitely think this is clever. This is a really clever use of Horgon. So, again, hats off to Glenn for this. This is pretty cool. Pretty fun to see this. Nobody else posted deck lists, so I have no idea. And yeah, next thing we'll quickly talk about is that I did post I have posted the schedule, if you haven't seen this already, for North American Continentals. We have a date set, we have a weekend set of July 26th to the 28th. It is at the Game Chest here in Sioux Falls. The Game Chest is about, I mean, there's not like an actual demarcated like center of Sioux Falls, like a geographical center of Sioux Falls, but it's probably as close to it as you can reasonably think. Minnesota Avenue is the biggest, most main street in Sioux Falls. It actually, as a matter of geography, demarcates East Sioux Falls versus West Sioux Falls, like addresses. Like everything to the east of Minnesota Avenue is whatever east, right? And anything to the west is whatever west in the address. So, and Game Chest is literally like in the middle part of Minnesota. So, you know, we have a game store that we're going to be playing at, essentially nearly dead center of Sioux Falls. And as you read what I posted here, you'll see that there are tons of options for food and other things that are nearby. Downtown Sioux Falls is just to the north of the Game Chest by about 10-15 blocks or so. You pass by it on your way south from the airport. So there's a lot of things that will be in the area that are very easy to get to, but of course everything in Sioux Falls is easy to get to. I mean, I live in the far east part of Sioux Falls, and it takes me 20-25 minutes to get to the farthest west part of Sioux Falls. So, we have 200,000 people in Sioux Falls, but it's not hard to get around Sioux Falls pretty quickly. So, yeah, we'll be doing first edition on day 1, which is a Friday, starting at 2 p.m. The store is opening early for us to be able to do this. Running concurrently for the second edition players who don't play first edition, we will have an optional or available side tournament for them to play. It's going to just be a cool tournament. So bring a fun deck. There will be a special rule where you may start the game with a single copy of Tongo and or Dabo and or Alien Gambling Device if you want to. Then on Saturday at 11:30, we will be doing second edition North American Continentals. Excuse me. And running concurrently for the first edition players who don't play second edition, they will also have their own cool tournament with the special rule of if you or your opponent seeds new civilizations, then in order to win, either player has to solve 4 missions or place a Borg objective on 4 missions. And so bring a fun deck because it's supposed to be a cool tournament. But if you want to make it interesting, use a seed slot on new civilizations and force you and your opponent to push to 4 missions. And that'll be a fun way to maybe stretch it'll be a fun way to stretch the game out. It'll be a fun way to face more dilemmas and make the games go longer and stuff like that. So that a lot of these 2 mission win decks and stuff like that you would normally play, they're kind of being you have a 1 seed slot ability to basically say you are not 2 mission winning. So yeah, that'll be fun. And then in the evening of the Saturday, we will have Tribbles Continentals Championship. Start time on that will just be whenever the second edition is done. So on Sunday, we will be playing Anachronism Draft. So I hope that everyone sticks around for the Sunday as well and plays some Anachronism Draft with us. If you get in early, I hope everyone gets in early, that people come in on the Thursday. I would highly recommend coming in on the Thursday if you can. Flying into Sioux Falls, driving into Sioux Falls, whatever. If you do, in the morning on the Friday, because again, the store does not open till 2, will not open for us early. Um, at 8 a.m., we're going to do a little golf tournament. There is a short, all par threes golf course in a neighboring town, just outside of Sioux Falls. And it's because it is a short executive golf course, it's for kids and families and newer golfers to learn how to get better at golf. And so it's very, it's as simple and amenable as golf can be to a non-golfer. But what we'll do is we will do this in kind of a team format where we'll put non-golfers and golfers together, and we'll do this kind of like team event where everyone's able to participate and have fun together, because I expect myself and Chris, and then of course one of my local players, Nate, at a minimum will participate in this. We will have enough golfers that we can put probably at least 3 teams together. So I'm hoping we get a bunch of people to want to participate in this as well. It should be fun. All right, make sure you read all of this here. I put some recommendations for food and hotels in here. All of these places are good. They are not the only places. There is a very long list of places in Sioux Falls you can go to. I was even reminded of one today, like this morning. I was reminded of one randomly that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't put that in there, but I don't really feel like editing the thread right now. So, but there is a restaurant in the downtown area of Sioux Falls that is owned and operated by a woman who has participated on like Top Chef and stuff like that. Like, she's amazing, and a lot of her profits go to like help out charities and stuff like that. So and the food there is amazing. So, all right, so that's that. Don't really have a whole lot else that I want to go over. So feel free to, respond to with any of your thoughts in the section in the comments below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. I am happy to continue to see that I keep getting a slow trickle of new subscribers to my channel. So yeah, I really appreciate all of you watching these videos. I was once again reminded this week that life is short, and it's important that you do what's fun, you do what you like, and I hope that I'm putting out something that all of you have fun watching and enjoy watching. So again, thank you all so much for watching. May the profits be with you.